Welcome my good people. Today I will talk about the Mega SG and how it compares to all the other Genesis that were released through the year, from the very first Sega Megadrive / Genesis. Here we go. The second one, Genesis 2. Then the Majesco release, Sega Genesis 3. The infamous AT game, Sega Genesis, that is an emulation more than a real Genesis, but it still has the official Sega Genesis logo. And finally, the Sega Genesis Mini. So let's jump right into it, and we'll compare dimensions, sizes, and weight, and finally the feel of the console. So chronologically, the first Sega Genesis was released in Japan under the Megadrive name in 1988. And for the US market, it was a Sega Genesis released in 89. And for the other countries in Europe, Brazil and Korea, 1990. In 1994, a redesigned Genesis was released, the Sega Genesis 2. And you can see, if you compare, they are smaller than the first one. Then a Sega Genesis 3 was released by Majesco in 1998. It was even smaller and simplified, with no connection to the Sega CD nor the 32X. Years later, AT Games partnered with Sega Genesis, or at least they got a license with Sega to put the name Sega Genesis on their emulation tiny machine in 2012, and subsequently they had different packaging, release of this tiny console with a wired controller and then infrared controller. And I would say it's the infamous one because people are always complaining about this little console, but the good thing is that it was pretty cheap. Following the Firecore, AT Games released the Sega Genesis Flashback in November 2017, and it just looks very close to the regular Sega Genesis with a few differences here and there. I do not have this console. I was not feeling like buying it back then, and if I want to buy it today, it sells for crazy prices and I already have everything I need right now. If we compare this console to the Sega Genesis Model 1, you can see it's slightly smaller, and this flashback Genesis can accept real cartridges. And if we look at the Sega Genesis Mini, the Mini is smaller than this flashback, and you can see the difference between the three consoles: the Mini, the flashback in the middle, and to the right, the original Sega Genesis. Finally, Sega released the Sega Genesis Mini that looks just like the original one, and this one was released in September 2019. But today, I'm talking about the Analogue Mega SG. So the Analogue Mega SG was released a few months before the official Sega Genesis Mini, and it was released in March 2019. And we had a few different versions, like a limited edition, the dub limited edition, different colors for the button, to replicate the buttons in Europe, US and Japan. This is the Japanese one, and there's also a white Mega SG. So now let's look at the texture of the console and how it compares to the other ones. If we look at the Analogue Mega SG, it has this kind of grainy plastic. It's a little bit the same as for the Sega Genesis Mini. Kind of, it's a little bit more grainy than the Sega Genesis Mini, but it's close enough, I would say. However, if we compare to the original Genesis, this one feels more polished than the Mega SG. I'm not sure if you can see well on the camera. And the Sega Genesis one, it has basically the same plastics as they use on the Sega Genesis 2. I don't really see any differences from that. And curiously, the AT Games Sega Genesis, the feel is kind of closer to the real Sega Genesis than the grainy Mega SG. And the Sega Genesis 3 by Majesco, it's a little bit more grainy than the original Sega Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, but not as much as the Mega SG. However, I could say that on the Mega SG it feels like some kind of metallic grainy, so it's kind of nice. As I mentioned before, I do not have the AT Games Sega Genesis flashback, but per these photos you can see that the plastics look very grainy and kind of rough comparing to the original Sega Genesis. And even if we look at the Mega SG that is grainy, it doesn't look as nice as the Mega SG. But I don't have it in person, so that's only what I can tell from the photo I have. And the Mega SG has this shiny ring here, but is definitely inspired by the original Sega Genesis. And on the first models of the Sega Genesis 1, you will see high definition graphics on top here. And on the Mega SG, they put some info here. You see, that reads a little bit FPGA, NTSC PAL, and the different info, 16-bit, 1080, 720, 480p, HD. I think that was kind of a nice touch to do a little bit like on the first Sega Genesis. And the second Genesis 2 also has this shiny ring, a little bit like this one. Regarding the buttons, the reset button that is blue on this version, because it's supposed to be the Japanese Megadrive skin here, with a red button for the start button and the blue for the reset button. The reset button is kind of similar on original Genesis with all these little dent dots in it. So this is the US one, so it's in white button. If it was the Japanese Mega Drive, it would be blue, just like this one. The Mega SG can accept either PAL or Genesis cartridges, as well as the more roundish cartridges. There is no little plastic corner in the cartridge slot that prevents you to do so, just like it is on the AT Games Sega Genesis or the Sega Genesis 3 made by Majesco. Now let's see the way of each console. Let's start with the Sega Genesis Model 1. So we have 2 pounds 5 ounce, that is 1.05 kilograms, 2.30 pounds. Next, we have the Sega Genesis 2. 1.50 is 1.8 ounces, and in kilograms 0.7 kilograms. Let's move on to the Sega Genesis 3. So this one is 0.6 pounds, that is 10 ounces, and in kilograms it's 0.30 kilograms. Then the lightest one, I think, is the AT Games Sega Genesis. So this one is 0.30 pounds, that is 5 ounces, and 0.15 kilograms. Then we have the Sega Genesis Mini, that is 0.30 pounds, actually 0.40 pounds, that is 7 ounces, and 0.20 kilograms. Then we're gonna finish with the Analogue Mega SG console. This console feels pretty sturdy, has a good weight. It's not like something that feels super flimsy like the AT Games, or just very lightweight like the Sega Genesis Mini or the Sega Genesis 3. Even if it compares in size, this one is kind of not very heavy, and obviously this one is very light. So the Mega SG is 1.10 pounds, that is 1 pound 1 ounce, and 0.50 kilogram, half a kilogram, compared to the first Genesis. Again, this one is 1 kilogram, so it's twice the weight of the Mega SG. However, when you just carry it, I don't know if it's because it's these small dimensions, it feels like it could be the same way as the original Sega Genesis / Megadrive. As I do not have the AT Games Sega Genesis flashback, I tried to look online to see if I could find the way, and I can see on Amazon it shows 2.6 pounds, but it seems incorrect to me, because the original Sega Genesis 1 I weighed it for 2.3 pounds, so I don't think the flashback is heavier. And thinking about the dimensions and what should be packed in, I don't think it is heavier or close to the Mega SG that has more, in my opinion. It might be closer to the Sega Genesis 3, that is 10 ounces, maybe slightly heavier, considering that the AT Games Sega Genesis flashback has a bigger shell, in my opinion. Here you can see the weight of each of these consoles next to each other. I use the Analogue Mega SG to capture all my footage, and I really recommend this console. It works flawlessly. It is possible to put GameGenie codes. You can use the EverDrive. All the recent indie games work on it, and you can also load games with an SD card. I definitely recommend this product. I want to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share the video if you enjoy the content. In the meantime, have a good one.